There's a place tucked between East and West, where Europe fades into Asia and ancient myths breathe through the mountains. Georgia, not the US state, but the sovereign nation at the edge of the Black Sea, is one of the oldest cultures on Earth. And yet, most of the world still knows so little about it. Here, geography becomes destiny, framed by Russia to the north, Turkey and Armenia to the south, and Azerbaijan to the east. Georgia is both a cultural crossroads and a proud outlier. It has stood through empires, invasions, and independence. And in 2025, it remains defiantly itself. Tbilisi, the capital, is unlike any other city. It doesn't unfold in order. It bursts open in color, noise, and contradiction. Crumbling balconies lean above modern wine bars. Ancient churches nest beside neon-lit casinos. It feels like Paris, Tehran, and Istanbul all collided in one long, cinematic dream. The soul of Georgia isn't hidden, that it's humming in every square, every cafe, every smile from a stranger. The country has mastered the art of quiet intensity. It doesn't scream for your attention. It pulls you in with a glass of homemade wine, a table full of food, and a story that refuses to be forgotten. Georgia isn't trying to be the next big thing, and that's exactly why it will be. It's not polished, not curated, not marketed. It's real. And in a world growing more filtered by the day, Georgia's rawness feels like freedom. But to understand this country, you need to look past the ruins and rooftops. You need to see its people, the faces that carry generations of struggle, grace, and unmistakable beauty. Faces of the Caucasus, the beauty of Georgian people. Georgian beauty isn't delicate. It's carved, defined, commanding. In a world used to Slavic softness or Western symmetry, Georgia offers something strikingly different. Beauty shaped by mountains, myth, and memory. The first thing you notice is the bone structure. High cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, long, noble noses passed down through kingdoms and invasions. There's strength in the faces here, but also mystery, a sense of something older than modern fashion, deeper than passing trends. This is the legacy of the Caucasus, from the ancient kingdoms of Lazica and Iberia to centuries of Persian, Ottoman, and Russian influence. Georgia is a melting pot of empires, tribes, and stories. And it shows. There's no one way to look Georgian. There's only one way to be Georgian. Proud. Women here walk with their heads held high, not out of arrogance, but ancestry. Their appearance is not performative. It's cultural. Beauty here is less about seduction and more about presence. The kind of presence that fills a room before a word is spoken. And yet, there's softness too. Warm skin tones glowing in golden light, dark hair cascading like the hills outside Tbilisi. A beauty that's earthy, approachable, and real. Georgians don't dress to impress outsiders. They dress for themselves and their sense of dignity. You'll see women in bold colors, embroidered shawls, or contemporary cuts that blend effortlessly into the past. Men too carry a quiet handsomeness, shaped more by confidence than style. In Georgia, beauty isn't advertised, it's lived. And nowhere does that living come more alive than in the movement of the people, a dance of heritage, pride, and unshakable rhythm. A dance of pride, culture that moves you. You don't need to step into a theater to see Georgian dance. Just walk through Liberty Square on a Saturday night. Suddenly, the air splits. Accordion music surges, feet pound stone, arms slash through wind. Young men leap like warriors. Young women glide like wind over snow. This is not choreography. This is history in motion. Dance in Georgia is not a pastime, it's a national heartbeat. Passed down through villages and generations, it tells stories no textbook ever could. About war, love, exile, return. About fathers who never came home and sons who now honor them with fire in their feet. These dances aren't polished for tourists. They erupt naturally, on street corners, in weddings, during protests. They're expressions of patriotism, not political, but personal. A reminder that Georgia has fought too hard to forget who it is. In Tbilisi, dance is life. Youth are reclaiming ancient steps with modern swagger. They perform with edge, grace, and a kind of spiritual precision. Even those who don't dance watch with reverence, because to watch is to remember. To join is to belong. Unlike cities that hide their heritage behind museums, Tbilisi wears its culture in the open. You don't have to find it, it finds you. In the rhythm of footsteps, the harmony of shouted greetings, the music that never quite stops echoing through the alleyways. And after the music slows, the night continues. In Georgia, darkness doesn't bring quiet, it brings freedom. Tbilisi nights, freedom in the open. The sun sets, but Georgia doesn't slow down. If anything, the city becomes more alive. In Tbilisi, night is not a pause, it's a release, a rebellion against order, expectation, and silence. Streets glow with the soft pulse of possibility. Walk along the Peace Bridge and you'll be offered a boat ride, a song, maybe even a homemade bracelet. Not by corporations, but by locals, hustlers of joy and storytellers of survival. On rooftops, people smoke hookah as fireworks light the skyline. Below, stray dogs patrol like gentle guardians, resting between raves and reflections. Casinos gleam like Vegas temples, attracting foreign high rollers and curious locals alike. Georgia's tax-friendly gambling laws make it a hotspot, especially in Batumi, but even in Tbilisi, the sparkle is real. Lavish yet laid back. There are no open container laws. Drink where you like, love who you like, dance in the middle of the street. No one's stopping you. The police are present, but they don't hover, unless something turns dangerous. This isn't lawlessness, it's a cultural trust in human behavior. What you'll feel most is the unfiltered energy. Locals don't wear nightlife like a costume, it's an extension of daily life. And for travelers, the invitation is clear. Come as you are. You won't need a ticket, just an open heart. Because in Georgia, night isn't just entertainment. It's an expression of who they are when no one is watching. Hospitality like no other. You are one of us. No country greets you like Georgia does. The moment you arrive, truly arrive, you stop being a tourist. You become a guest. And in this culture, a guest is sacred. Step into a family home, and before you can sit, the wine is poured. Homemade, of course. Bread baked that morning. A plate of khinkali or lobio placed in front of you with pride, not pretension. They don't ask where you're from first. They ask if you're hungry. This isn't performative hospitality. It's woven into the national identity. Even those with little will offer you their best, not to impress, but because to feed someone is to honor them. Short-term visitors are cherished. Locals light up at the chance to show you their country. They'll give you directions, advice, even their time, for nothing in return but a shared smile. Tourism isn't just economic here, it's emotional. But that warmth has limits. For long-term settlers, the honeymoon fades. The expectations shift. You're no longer a guest. You're part of the neighborhood. And that comes with complexities, just like anywhere else. Still, the first impression remains powerful. Georgia wants you to fall in love with the land, the language, the people, and chances are, you will. Because in a world where most countries treat visitors like wallets, Georgia treats you like family. Language, alphabet, and identity, a code of their own. Try to read a street sign in Tbilisi, and you might think you've landed in another world. The Georgian alphabet is utterly unique, looping, elegant, and indecipherable to outsiders. And that's by design. Because this language is more than communication. It's resistance. While much of the region adopted Cyrillic or Latin scripts, Georgia kept its own, an alphabet with 33 letters and an aesthetic closer to calligraphy than code. It's a symbol of survival, of never being fully conquered, no matter how many empires tried. Say gamarhuba for hello, medloba for thank you. The effort will be noticed and appreciated. Georgians are fiercely proud of their identity, and their language is at the heart of it. Russian is widely spoken, a legacy of Soviet rule, but tread carefully. For younger generations, Russian often carries the weight of occupation. English, meanwhile, floats through tourist zones, cafe menus, and Instagram captions. But outside Tbilisi, it disappears quickly. Language here is layered, like the country itself. Each word carries history. Each sound echoes with stories untold. And to speak Georgian, even imperfectly, is to step closer to the soul of the nation. Because in a country where identity has been tested for centuries, To speak your own words is the most powerful act of all. The Russian shadow. A country on edge. History doesn't just live in Georgia, it walks the streets. And nowhere is that more felt than in the country's delicate relationship with its massive neighbor to the north. Since the war in 2008, when Russia occupied 20% of Georgian territory, including the regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, the relationship has remained cold and complex. The war in Ukraine has only intensified those tensions. Georgia has become a haven for thousands of Russians and Ukrainians escaping conflict. In cities like Tbilisi and Batumi, you'll hear Russian more often than Georgian in certain areas. Some locals welcome these newcomers, others watch with cautious eyes. The trauma of the past has not faded, and the shadow of occupation still looms. Downtown, Liberty Square has become a canvas of protest and pride. Anti-Russian graffiti and Ukrainian flags flutter alongside Georgia's own, symbols of solidarity and resistance. The national identity here is more than cultural, it's political. Every flag waved, every poster taped to a wall is a declaration of independence in the most literal sense. And yet, Georgia remains unbroken, proud, but not aggressive, wary, but still welcoming. That balance is fragile and sacred. In the cracks of global tension, Georgia plants its flag with humility, but never submission. This isn't just a borderland. It's a country still writing its post-Soviet future. And in 2025, it knows the price of silence and the value of freedom. Life on Lari, cheap but not easy. Georgia might be one of the most affordable countries in Europe, but life here isn't always easy. The local currency, the Georgian lari, stretches far, especially for visitors. A lavish meal might cost you the same as a coffee back home, but for locals, that affordability comes with a cost. The average monthly income hovers around 800 to 900 euros. Many Georgians work long hours or multiple jobs just to sustain a modest life. Rent, though cheaper than in Western capitals, can still eat up a significant portion of income, especially in Tbilisi, where urban development has outpaced wages. Yet Georgians know how to make the most of what they have. Farmers' markets overflow with fresh produce, often grown in family gardens or nearby villages. Families cook at home, host feasts, and share wine that's been fermenting in clay pots since before their grandparents were born. And then there's the strange beauty of the streets. Luxury cars parked beside crumbling buildings, Mercedes sedans driving without bumpers, Toyotas with the steering wheel on the wrong side. Georgia doesn't demand aesthetic perfection. It values function, spirit, and survival. This is a country where hustle is a lifestyle. Whether it's selling handcrafted goods in the square, offering walking tours, or driving a cab without GPS, Georgians find a way. Life may not be rich in money, but it's rich in resourcefulness. And that, in its own right, is a kind of wealth no one can tax. Everything goes, the bizarre freedom of daily life. There's a specific kind of freedom that exists in Georgia, and it doesn't always make sense. Cars without bumpers drive like kings of the road. Left-hand and right-hand drive vehicles weave past each other with chaotic grace. There are no taxi meters, just your phone's GPS and the driver's mood. On paper, this sounds like disorder, but in practice, it feels oddly liberating. There's an honesty to it. No polished facades, no overly enforced rules. Just people figuring it out, one lurching marshrutka at a time. Want to smoke in your taxi? Go ahead. Blast music from a 15-year-old stereo while driving through the mountains? No one's stopping you. Georgia doesn't wrap daily life in red tape. It lets you live it, sometimes beautifully, sometimes recklessly, but always fully. Even in the bureaucracy, the rules are flexible. Need to negotiate a price? Everything's up for discussion. Forgot your bus ticket? Smile, explain. Maybe you'll get a pass. It's a culture of improvisation, where the systems might not always work, but the people do. There's a kind of poetic anarchy in it all. It's a country where strangers give you a ride, where the internet may glitch, but the Wi-Fi password is always freely shared. Where the roads are wild, but somehow everyone gets home. In Georgia, logic sometimes takes a backseat to instinct. And while it might leave your head spinning, it will absolutely leave your heart full. Dogs, drivers, and danger. What tourists don't expect. If you come to Georgia expecting European order, You're in for a surprise, especially when it comes to the streets. The first thing you'll notice isn't the architecture. It's the dogs. Stray dogs, hundreds of them, roam freely through Tbilisi's squares and sidewalks. But here's the twist. They're not feared. They're loved. These dogs are vaccinated, tagged, and oddly territorial, often protecting entire blocks like furry guardians. You'll see them lounging in cafes, napping outside government buildings, even walking tourists across busy roads. They are, in a way, part of the city's soul. Then there's the traffic. Georgia's roads are a high-speed ballet of improvisation and adrenaline. Drivers change lanes without signaling. Marshrutka drivers treat speed limits like suggestions. Seatbelts? Optional. Honking? Constant. It's chaotic, but somehow works. But there's danger too. Tourists who hop into intercity minibuses expecting comfort are often met with ragged upholstery, blasting music, and white-knuckle turns. If you value safety, take the train. The Marshrutkas might be faster, but only if you survive the ride. And don't be shocked if your taxi driver smokes with the windows closed or plays Georgian folk music at max volume. It's just the way things are here. No filters, no apologies. Georgia doesn't try to impress you with polish. It impresses you with truth. And in that truth, in the madness, the mess, the unexpected kindness, you find something far more authentic than perfection. Tourism, the engine that never sleeps. Georgia may be rich in history, but its future is fueled by tourism. In Tbilisi, everything becomes an experience waiting to be sold. Cross the Peace Bridge and you'll be offered a boat ride. Walk to the cable car and someone's selling balloon trips. Sit in a cafe and the waiter's cousin is a tour guide. This isn't exploitation. It's entrepreneurship. For many locals, tourism is survival. The economy leans heavily on foreign currency, and Georgians know how to make a lasting impression. But it's not just about money, it's pride. They want you to love their homeland, and chances are you will. You'll find boat rides for $7, cable cars for $1, and if you're lucky, a hot air balloon ride for $20. The prices vary, depending on your smile and your bargaining skills. But the spirit is constant. Give them a reason, and they'll give you an experience. The sheer diversity of offerings is staggering. Wine tours in Kakheti, fortress hikes in the Caucasus, sulfur baths in Old Tbilisi. Even the streets are curated, with musicians, dancers, painters, all part of the city's living tourism theater. And yet, it doesn't feel like a tourist trap. It feels like a country showing off its best traits, not because it has to, but because it loves to. Every tour is a story. Every host is a guide to something real. In Georgia, tourism isn't just a transaction. It's a celebration. Why Georgia captivates? The final truth. Georgia doesn't need to shout to be unforgettable. It simply exists, messy, beautiful, unfiltered, and it leaves a mark on everyone who steps foot within its borders. This is a country of contradiction. Gorgeous women with iron-willed pride, old churches beside neon-lit clubs, silence in the mountains and song in the streets. You'll leave with dust on your boots and wine in your soul. You'll remember the hospitality, the case the way the strangers treated you like family. You'll remember the smiles that asked nothing in return. You'll remember the way time slowed, not because the country is backward, but because it refuses to rush past what matters. Georgia in 2025 isn't chasing modernity. It's redefining it. Here, freedom isn't a slogan. It's lived. It's danced. It's poured into clay jugs and shared between strangers. And though it may confuse you, challenge you, even frustrate you, Georgia will never leave you empty. Because in a world that filters and fabricates, Georgia dares to be real. And that, more than anything, is what makes it unforgettable.